G'day, my name is Stephen Lazar from properT Network. Hope you're doing well and thank you for visiting with us. A quick background is that we've been in the property space for 16 years now, helping clients secure investment grade property for the purpose of growing their own wealth and securing wealth. And we added SDA property to the portfolio about a year and a half ago when private investors like yourself started looking at the opportunity, meaning we have extensive knowledge in all things property and in SDA space. This is going to be one of the most important videos that I've done to date around SDA property under the NDIS. And I'd like you to be able to sit back and reflect on what I'm going to be able to share with you today, because it is that important that you can achieve an insight into the current market and your investment potential. And if that's okay with you, may I proceed? Thank you. Hey, as mentioned, we've been in the space for a year and a half now. And what we're noticing is a lot more marketing companies coming out there to try and sell you something to make a quick buck at your own expense. What we notice in Australia is that whenever the government launches an initiative, a great initiative, and they throw a lot of money out there with a budget, it soon attracts a lot of questionable characters whose sole purpose it is as to how can they make a quick buck out of it for themselves. Yes or yes? Thank you. So no matter how beneficial the cause, there are always those who are making a bucket load out there on this government funding. And this industry is no different. What we're finding is that there are two types of marketing groups out there, where around 80% of them who are offering NDIS product, most of them are new, and they're offering product aimed at you, the investor. I'll say that again, 80% of what we continue to see out there being marketing from these sales and marketing groups are aimed at you, the investor. They're appealing to your greed and your fear of missing out on these high yields. They're just transactional and just want to flog you something by appealing to your greed and by offering you something which on paper looks exceptional. Or they appeal to your fear of missing out by telling you it's the last one left there. But on the flip side, about 20% really care about this industry and are involved in it because they have people they know who are disabled, have family that's disabled, or they're just passionate about helping people that are less fortunate than us just because they have a disability. And this is the group that we intentionally subscribe to. This 20%, we are following the purpose of the NDIS. And the purpose of the NDIS is to give your participant choice of where they want to live, in the type of dwelling they want to live in, amongst their communities, close to required infrastructure to support their lifestyles, close to hospitals, jobs, and even in and amongst their own communities where they can thrive in. Yet the 80%, and I'll show you examples, who are appealing to your greed of these high yields, they do not care about ticking these boxes. They are providing the most bare minimum of a product which just scrapes through the compliance. And they don't care if they put 20, 30, or 45 houses in one area, giving you their own client competition. They're transactional, wanting to sell another and another by deliberately appealing to your greed for these high yields. Most people buy or invest using emotion. And these marketing groups and sales groups meet your requirements. They're fantastic at telling you what you want to hear. And boy, admittedly, it sounds fantastic. Just check out their videos and marketing, which is purposely designed to get you to commit with your emotion. But we all know that whenever we invest using emotion, we're always guaranteed to earn a lower return on investment, but only 100% of the time. So as an investor, you do have choice. Greed is a massive emotion that is exceptionally difficult to curb. And I've spoken to and consulted with highly intelligent people who agree with the logic that I've shared with them, yet they land by going with a product where the yields look better on paper. They're unable to avoid their emotion of greed at their very own peril. With NDIS property, we know that the only way you can get a higher yield is by entering the investment at a lower price range. And the only way to achieve this is these sales companies are looking for land that is further out and cheaper, and they'll dish up a floor plan that is unsuited. And it's easy to build a cheaper floor plan. Now, these packages have been deliberately designed for you, the investor. But a valid question you'd want to ask them is, where does the strategy suit the NDIS, suit the participants, the carers, their family members? You'll find that the answer is nowhere. It just does not. And you can see my frustration and emotion building up sharing this with you. So what I would love to share with you now are a few quick slides so that you too can also identify what it is that we're bringing to your attention. And I'll follow on afterwards with a conversation. The first slide is the purpose of the SDA property, and the purpose of SDA property under the NDIS is to give your participant choice of where they want to live in a dwelling that feels like their forever home, in and amongst their communities they live in, have family and friends in, that's close to infrastructure required to suit their needs and their lifestyle, whilst giving them the opportunity to thrive. And in summary, that your purpose, the purpose is to give them choice of where the participant want to live, in a choice of dwelling, the type and space they want to live in, and the ability to thrive. And the requirements must be close to infrastructure, close to family, friends, and caregiver support. So SDA property, when built fit for purpose, you will have a successful investment. So ask yourself, if you had a family member with a disability, and would you want them to live in a location or a floor plan that you're looking at? Would you live this far out of your own community? We look at this live example that's outside of Mackay in Bukasia. This is a live example from another company offering a client this opportunity to invest 17 kilometers outside of Mackay. Why? Let's analyze the floor plan briefly that the client sent us. Whether this floor plan is for robust or higher physical support, this is our assessment. You have 3 bedrooms that are side by side, unsuited, not the largest in size. And how will a wheelchair easily navigate around the bed? These areas are too small, and there's no turning space either. Also, if it were robust, it's highly impractical because noises from the participant in one bedroom will affect other participants in the other bedrooms being next to each other. And then 3 participants sharing one bathroom, it's not conducive. If you have 2 needing to use this space at the same time, or more importantly, if one participant gets sick with, say, gastro, the other participants will get sick. And this is a nightmare for caregivers and their families. The living kitchen dining space is minute for 3 participants and 3 carers. There's no privacy. What if someone's trying to cook and talking, and others are trying to watch TV. Too much noise and congestion in such a small space, you'd have to agree that it is unsuited. Look at the alfresco. It's minute. A wheelchair cannot turn on such a narrow patio. Also, can you imagine coming out into this area for some fresh air or privacy, and you're faced smack bang up against the yard wall? How is this conducive to thriving in your own home? With the house built almost to boundary, what about noises emanating from the home disturbing neighbors, or neighbors' noise disturbing participants? And again, if it were robust, this does not offer participants nor neighbors the right to peace and quiet. Look at the areas on either side of the home. There's no possibility of a wheelchair being able to traverse down the side safely or even turn. So how does this tick the boxes or the purpose of the NDIS? It does not. So sure, we can get a cheap block of land of 350 square meters in size and build an SDA home on it, but would you live in it? Would you live in it if it's not conducive to your own tenants' purposes and won't support their lifestyle just because they've got disability? You can't expect them to live there. It is a prison. It's a virtual prison. It may comply on paper, but it is unsuited to participants' needs. How will 3 participants even get on with each other in something like that? When investing regionally, the majority of required infrastructure needed to support the lifestyle of someone with disability lies in a CBD around here. Why would you live 17 kilometers outside of the community, away from the infrastructure, banished just because you have a disability? Or would you build there as an investor just because the yields look great to you on paper? It's a genuine example being sold by a group of marketers right now, appealing to you, the investors' greeds, and offering incredible yields on paper at a low entry price. What about the demand for SDA need in this area? What about carers? What about family and friends? What about the participant? It's just not conducive. If it weren't for the high yields, you would not invest there, would you? This is a map of Bocacia. Where is the infrastructure required to support their lifestyle and allow them to live and thrive? There is no infrastructure out here. It's in plain sight, the answer. There's very, very little to none. Yes or yes. Good. What about the care providers? Why would they go out of their way to travel this far out of the CBD and back again when they could look after participants that are so much closer in? Care providers cannot afford to send their staff on a 20-minute ride out of the local hub and 20 minutes back when you can support a whole lot of more participants that are closer in. Why would they bother to do so when they can service clients much closer to them? It does not make business sense. And what if that participant then needs a medical examination or ride back into town to attend something or to meet a friend? Again, another 20-minute journey each way. What about family or friends of the participants? You can't punish them and punish the family by banishing the participant to the outskirts of town just because they have disability. It is in total contradiction to the purpose of the NDIS. So now you may ask, what about participants who may live in Bocacia, which is a fair enough question? And the answer is very simple. Check out the NDIS demand map. There are exceptionally few participants in that area who live out in Bocacia in this postcode. So it is unlikely that you'll attract a participant locally. This is another example of another one that's being sold in cans and defies the same logic that I demonstrated with you in Mackay. Check out for yourself here, 16 kilometers outside of Cairns, which is a small city anyway. And what infrastructure is in Edmonton to support the lifestyle of the participant, especially where this one is located? There's nothing. So today's important video that I've captured for you is to get you to sit back and think, what is the purpose of the NDIS? Think about the participant. Would they want to live there? Would they want to live there and call that their forever home? Think about the caregivers who are trying to perform their jobs in that dwelling. And think about the families of these participants. Or remain greed focused and think about the overpromising of these exceptional yields. And only you can elect to latch onto the belief and latch onto the thoughts that you want to hold on to, because how you think is how you're going to act. That's going to enforce the action you take or don't take, which is going to keep giving you the results that you get in life. So choose your thoughts that'll better suit you to give you the results that you want and deserve. And when you give consideration to all the factors, if you continue down the track of promised high yields and build further out, so as soon as something suitable is built closer in, your participants are going to move. Hey, that's if you attract them at all into the examples that I've been showing you. Think about the caregivers who are on the other side employed to look after the participant. They're not going to drive the participant out there to look at the home because it is so far out. And they can offer them something closer in. But if they do drive out there and they take a look at that cramped floor plan, they will no sooner leave the property knowing it is unsuited to the participant and the location. And sure, if very few NDIS properties are being built in that location you are considering, you don't have competition yet. But you and I know you will have competition in the future because it's inevitable. And the result for you is that you could land up with a dwelling that is mostly vacant or even unoccupied. And is that what you really are after? Or I hear you say, what about rental guarantees? Well, you need to check out our video on rental guarantees before you jump onto a guarantee, because as they say in legal circles, let the buyer beware. You simply cannot shove a fellow human being into a floor plan or a location that I've shared with you. They cannot live in that environment unless you believe that they can. These are your emotions. They're not reality taking place in the participant's life or their carer's life or their family's life. They're yours. So this is a good time to revert back to the purpose of the NDIS and the reason why the government is giving you a hell of a lot of income. The reasons why you are attracted to NDIS and looking at it. So before you search for and commit to anything, revert back to the purpose of the NDIS. Hey, for sure, those yields of 16 to 18% on paper are incredibly brilliant. They're brilliant. But this is why our greed is attracted to it. Yet, over the long run, if you continue to lose participants and you have to pay your provider to find you new participants, and you do not have consistency of your occupancy rates, the competition who are building closer into the CBDs and infrastructure on a more generous floor plan, built fit for purpose, their dwellings will be fully occupied. And over the long run, their return on investment will be superior compared to yours. And yours is on a cheaper package. An astute investor will always look to secure a lower yield consistently than a higher yield inconsistently that does not stack up on and just on paper. So if you're building for 3 participants, ask yourself the logic. Is there a strong chance of you attracting 3 participants 17 kilometers outside of a regional town? Or is there a better chance of attracting 3 participants closer in, say 5 or 7 kilometers from a CBD? The odds of attracting 3 participants anyway is hard and difficult, but to attract 3 so far out on the floor plan I shared you, that's very unlikely. This is a 20-year program. Competition is inevitable. And logical investment statistics will indicate that the further you go outside of a town, the chances are of attracting 3 participants further out is going to be a lot lower under the SDA model than coming closer in to a CBD where all the infrastructure is. So the question is, do you go cheap on a crappy floor plan on the outskirts of town because on paper the yields are fantastic? Or do you purposely set aside your greed and then invest a bit more to secure a property that's closer in and on a more generous floor plan? Because as an investor, you've got to work out your strategy that appeals to you. It's a vital question that you need to contemplate before you enter into any agreement. The statistics are already demonstrating properties that are built fit for purpose under the NDIS, attracting participants sooner. And you're also improving your chances of holding on to those participants for much longer, following our strategy. Because when you get to know and understand the purpose of the NDIS and SDA property, and you know how it works, you will understand the requirements to build fit for purpose are vital. Build a floor plan to suit the participants in a location that they do want to live in. Because the purpose of specialist disability accommodation is to give your participants choice. Yes or yes? Thank you. These marketing and sales groups are deliberately offering you lower entry product, removing your choice and banishing participants to outskirts of town. How is this even allowed? Just because someone is unfortunate enough to suffer a disability. Just because they are. It doesn't mean it's okay to treat them as an inferior human being, and their families will not tolerate such crap behavior. Back in the days of lepers, they were banished to the outskirts of town. These marketing groups are doing the same thing. So why would you actually latch onto that and invest that far out in a suburb without infrastructure that's needed? Just because the yields look fantastic on paper? I urge you to set aside your greed for 1 minute. That strategy is aimed at greed. It just doesn't make sense to an investor. Hey, I want to thank you for allowing me to share this with you and being able to bring it to your attention. Because the vast majority of want-to-be investors in this complex space have very little to no knowledge of what I've just shared with you. And this truly worries me, and it worries others that think like I do. And what concerns me further are these sales groups who just want to flog you something without a duty of care, without, all right, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say they don't have this kind of knowledge themselves. But either way, the probability of you ending up with a very expensive, inferior paperweight or investment vehicle, it's very high, that probability going with them. And it keeps me up at night. So may I ask you to now, again, just sit back and reflect on this video. And whatever you take out of it is going to be what you take out of it. It's not my position to try and convince you what's right for you. And if your greed is that strong a driver, please, I ask you to not reach out to me at properT Network. We are totally unsuited. At properT Network, we're not geared up to suit your needs for high greed. But there are plenty out there they're transactional and they set up that way because they don't care about the participants and they don't care about you, because their purpose is to make sales and take a large slice of the pie at someone else's expense. But on the other hand, if you can genuinely look at it from the perspective of there is definitely enough in it for everyone, and you can still earn a significant yield on your investment by securing a generously designed floor plan in the right location, built fit for purpose, in a property that we refer to as investment grade, where you know you'll attract participants sooner and hold on to them longer, compared to the shitty floor plans on the outskirts of town. If this is you, then please reach out to us at properT Network. We would love to work with you. Invest and build to meet the purpose of this brilliant program and initiative, and you will own a very successful investment vehicle. And this is pertinent in any location in Australia, in any state, in any part of Australia, where you're looking to mitigate risk. We know that statistics demonstrate that the closer you are to a CBD and infrastructure, the demand for SDA property is going to be higher, primarily because you've got a bigger pool of tenants or participants that are closer in, that you do not have that are further out. Yes or yes? This is Stephen Lazar, thanking you for the privilege of allowing me to share this very important video with you, because this is so damn important to me. Actually, if I may just qualify, I have felt like this since the beginning of the SDA property initiative. And this was affirmed to me recently when I was invited as a guest speaker at an all-day NDIS conference, which included other guest speakers who represented their sectors in life. Some were developers, some were supplying automation and appliances for participants' needs. Some were on the back end providing support services to participants. Others were SDA providers to manage the dwellings. And incredibly, the theme which emanated from each speaker included how upset and disgusted they are with what is occurring in the industry, and the proliferation exploding from sales groups providing the bare minimum builds, thinking that this suits participants' needs or family needs and their caregivers' needs. Designing product to suit you, the investor, not the participant. Each one included examples in their slides. And not only was this an incredible reminder for me, but it opened my eyes further as to what is truly and dishonorably going on in this industry, and how those who have identified how much money there is to be made just don't give a crap, so long as they can sell a product or a service. I've been conscious of it for a while now, but this conference really got to me, and it reaffirmed how we at properT Network and the teams that I've deliberately surrounded myself with to add value to you truly care about the end user, the participant, placing them as a priority in everything that we do. And by doing so, you will secure an investment-grade SDA property built fit for purpose, generating a sound income for the next 20 or so years, linked to CPI, which is going to give you and your next generations the ability to grow and secure wealth for generations to come. And how good is that? Once again, Stephen Lazar from properT Network signing off. I thank you for joining me